Thakur, he says, in his song Gurudev Kripa Bindadi, he says that Dehanata Jata Jata. We should respect everyone according to their particular position. We should respect even the dogs and the cats. Once Prabhupada was going for a morning walk in Nandankanan Zoo in Bhubaneswar in 1977, and there's a number of devotees with him, and one of the Western sannyasis who was with him took his danda and he put it through the cage and was poking the lion with his danda. I don't know why, but anyway, Srila Prabhupada saw that and he stopped. He said, "Hey, stop that." He said, "He's a lion. You should give him respect." We should give him respect. We should give respect to everyone. You know those creatures in the world. Even an insect. Prabhupada once, he called for Shrutakirti Prabhu. And Shrutakirti came in, he said, "Yes, Prabhu, what is it?" Prabhupada said, "There's an insect right there on the floor, and I think he's hungry. You pick him up and take him outside." And Shrutakirti couldn't even find him. It was just some little tiny insect. And then sure enough, he found that little insect, and he carried him outside and put him out. Srila Prabhupada was so caring and giving respect to everyone. And this is the nature of a Vaishnava. But Prabhupada writes in one purport, 5th canto, that when someone has a lot of opulence, then offenses come. And so we have to be very careful. And that's one reason why in the beginning of our movement, devotees found things very, very blissful and very happy. Because there was only one bathroom for 20 devotees. And sometimes the devotees were wearing the same clothes. Even the men and women were wearing the same clothes. They had these yellow sheets, and they would share them. And they would take turns wearing them. And it was a very, very austere and simple life. But it was so happy. But then later on, when we got big temples and a lot of money, then more quarreling came. It's because money can foster Vaishnava aparad. Srila Prabhupada says this in his purport in 5th canto. So we have to be very, very careful. And that's why in this pastime, we're reading from in Chaitanya Mangal, this dog, he got the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because the dog didn't have any big upadis. He wasn't thinking, I'm a big, big dog. I'm a big person. I'm a GBC dog. I'm a temple president dog. I'm a senior devotee dog. I'm just a dog. And he got the mercy of Mahaprabhu. But the demigods didn't get the mercy of Mahaprabhu. Because they have so much opulence and they're thinking, I'm a very, very big person. So then how can they get the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Mahaprabhu's mercy is Nirupadi Karunena, Sri Satchinandanena. His mercy, as we mentioned in the beginning, is Nirupadika Karuna. It's mercy with no designation. He freely gives to everyone. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Pacha Pacha Vichar Nahi Nahi Stana Stan Jai Jana Paitana Puri Prema Dana. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Ram. Pacha Pacha Vichar Nahi Nahi Stana Stan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, they didn't consider Patra Apatra, who was a proper recipient for this mercy or who wasn't a proper recipient. Thank God. Otherwise, there would be no Krishna consciousness in Germany or in America. Vichar nahi nahi stanastan. They didn't consider what was a proper place or an improper place. Rather, Jai Jana Payatana Kori Prema Dan. They gave Krishna praying freely to everyone. And so if we want the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have to learn to give respect properly to everyone and not see everyone by so many different designations. But we have to do this exercise, and it's an exercise. Right? It's natural by our conditioning to be sectarian and to think, oh, this is a Russian person, I don't like Russians, I like Germans, I don't like Americans, I like French people. It's natural by our condition to think like that. We have to do some exercise and try to see good in every single person. Try to find something that we can love in them. Sometimes I tell a story how we were traveling once and I went into a hotel and there was I had to book a room and there was a lady standing at the desk and there was a few people in front of me. And the person talking to the lady at the desk was some very, very angry man. And he was screaming and shouting at her and calling her filthy names and so angry. You stupid, you know, I didn't want to say what he was saying. You nonsense people, and he's so angry. And then he stormed out and left. And the woman, while she was talking to him, she says, yes, sir, no, sir, I'm sorry, sir. And she was very flustered. It looked like she was going to cry. And then that man left, and finally my turn came to the front of the line. I'm dressed as a devotee. And I can't preach to her. But I went there and I said, you know, I just want to mention to you, I was really, really impressed with how you dealt with that angry man. You were so professional and so tolerant, even though the guy was a complete jerk. You were so nice to him. And when I told her like that, you could see it was like a big weight off her shoulders. Oh, thank you so much. I don't know if she's going to read Prabhupada's books or something, but I can promise you, that lady, if you ask her, she's going to tell you that some of these Hare Krishna people are very nice. She had a good impression of myself from that. And I didn't say anything about any philosophy, but I saw some good thing in her. If we can see some good thing in other people, then we can preach. And this is really our movement. This is how we do our bhajan. We see good things in everyone and bad things in myself. And then we can really develop this attitude of giving respect to everyone, and we can get this mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even though we may be dogs, dog-like people. We can get that mercy where even great demigods can't get it. So we'll stop there. Anybody have any questions or comments?
I was thinking of this narrow-mindedness, or this tendency of fanaticism, or of being extremely critical. It seems it's very much according to a certain body that the person is getting. Some might be much more, some might be much less according to education, and there are many factors that brings to there. For my question was, what is the way out? Just chanting the holy name, reading the practice, or can different person needs to deal in different levels to cure this type of disease?
Well, of course, our pat answer in the Hare Krishna movement is that chant Hare Krishna solves everything. And in that regard, Bhaktivinoda, in his commentary in the first verse of Shikshastakam, he says that the first result of chanting the holy name is Chaitodarpana Marjana, that the mirror of our heart becomes clear and clean. And he says that that mirror is such a dirty mirror, it's like you have grease on it. And if you start cleaning a mirror that has grease, you can't see anything in the beginning. But as you keep cleaning little by little, you can see a little bit of a form in there. And Bhaktivinoda says that that beginning, the first thing that we can see in the mirror is our particular position in Varna and Ashram. And therefore Bhaktivinoda and Srila Prabhupada Acharyas, they wanted to establish Daivivan Ashram, that devotees practicing Krishna consciousness, they could do so in a particular way which is natural for them. And people are very, very different, and what's right for one person is not going to be right for another person, and not everyone's going to be able to associate together. It's a miracle that our movement has gone as far as it has, because much of the time we have so much, a huge difference in types of people in our society. So it's going to be natural that some people who are scholarly and have a Brahminical kind of nature, they'll associate together, and some other people who like to make money, they'll associate more together. And you see in India, I know different Brahmin sasans, different Brahmin villages, and these villages is Raghurajpur, which is a village of artists, not far from Jagannath Puri. They naturally come together in their particular way. So that's something we can encourage little by little. And we can also very frankly say that it's not natural for us to disassociate with everyone. I can try to give respect to everyone, but there's some people who just have a different nature. And I may love them and respect them, but I can't hang out with them. And if I try, it's going to be problematic. And we see that in the movement. And it's such a difficult thing to try to run a temple like this too, because people come and they have such different types of natures, and everybody has one thing in common: we want to take shelter of Krishna. But then some people are very rough and very low class, and other people are very high class, and it becomes a little difficult. So we need to try to cultivate that in our society. And I think, personally, I think our temples alone are very much insufficient to do that. The temples work really well for deity worship, for festivals, like what we just had, for preaching, for some brahmacharis to stay, but for people to make money and to raise a family and things, we're going to need, sooner or later, as responsible adults, we're going to have to take responsibility for ourselves and householders and start some businesses and start communities amongst like-minded devotees. The institution is not going to do that. It may facilitate that. That's my thought. Do you have any other thoughts about that?
Thank you.
Prabhuji?
Yeah. I would like to ask you to maybe explain again this point of the point of criticism, because as far as I understood, you said that, or I understood that, criticizing others may really disturb our own nature, and then you also pointed out that, at some point in time you have to intervene, and especially
at some point you have to
intervene or to correct someone. Do you have any practical additional thoughts how to make this distinction, when to do it and when not?
Well, we have our pat answer. Chant Hare Krishna and everything like that. Okay. And really, that's our pat answer. But it's not such a shallow thing. If we chant Hare Krishna in a very deep way, Krishna gives intelligence. Our heart will become softer, we'll be more sympathetic to other people. And we've all experienced it, I think. After you've been chanting for some years, you can see you become a little more sensitive, you can learn how to deal with other people. I want to read a little thing from Bhaktivinoda Thakur about this. See, he speaks about fault finding. He says, in debate, he says, debate arises only from a desire for conquest. You want to conquer the world, that's why you want to debate. It is extremely abominable. Fault finding arises only from imposing one's own bad habits on others. Why is it that we become disturbed when we see someone with a fault? It's because I have that fault. I can relate to it. But Srila Prabhupada was able to tolerate that. He was tolerating his disciples going out and smoking cigarettes after the kirtan and going to the shop next door and eating ice cream with eggs in it. And as we mentioned somewhere a few days ago to some devotees, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he saw that there are a certain class of people, some high-class people, who weren't going to come to the temple, they weren't going to come to the lectures, they weren't going to come to the kirtan. And so he invited them to a dinner program. And they ate meat. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta sat at the same table while they were eating meat. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta arranged for the meat. He also did that in Mayapur, so those people could preach. And he told Ban Maharaj, his disciple in England, he told him that he should do the same thing. And Ban Maharaj became a little disturbed. He said, Guru Maharaj, we can't do that. We have a lot of Hindus who are coming to our program, and they're going to become very disturbed. So they didn't do that thing. So it's not such a hard and fast thing. Something else?
Yeah, and then maybe another question. I'm really happy that you brought up these points today, because I was, with a fellow devotee here, I was, debating something similar today, because today I learned that, so I collected some apples, and then one apple fell down onto my shoe, and then I learned that you cannot offer something to the baby, for example, which has touched your feet somehow. And then I was thinking about this, and you made exactly this point that Guru appears and preaches things regarding to circumstances, location, and time. And I was thinking, maybe this habit should not offer something which touched a foot, is somehow related to the conditions of India, for example. It's a tropical country. You have, strong rainfalls, for example, so there's more bacteria, or people don't wear closed shoes, and they have sandals, and I don't know. And, I was thinking about this. Can you maybe...
Thank you. This is a really good example. Thank you for that. There's certain rules, but we should understand the spirit of the rules and why they're there. And the rules are not always hard and fast. In the Ramayana, there's a story about a lady whose name is Sabari, and she was a low-class tribal lady. And it's a long story, I won't go into the whole story, but one day she was wandering in the forest and she was eating some berries. And Lord Ramachandra appeared before her. And she was so ecstatic, she wanted to serve the Lord, so she offered him some berries. But they were her remnants, something she'd been eating personally. And Lord Ramachandra accepted it and appreciated it. So in India, we don't offer, anywhere, we don't offer, there's a rule that we don't offer something to the deity that's touched our foot, because the foot is considered to be a very low place. It's considered very disrespectful. Even to this day, in Iran and in many parts of the world, if you want to insult someone, you throw a shoe at them. Or in some parts of India today, if somebody does something bad, they wear a garland made out of shoes. Because the feet is considered to be very low class. And so how can I offer something to the Lord that touched my foot? But some devotees might actually do that. Someone who's a very, very elevated, Srimati Radharani, if she drops something on her foot, she may still offer that to Krishna, she might not. It's not such a hard and fast thing, but we should understand the principle behind it. And that's really, really important. When we don't understand the principle behind it, that's when we just start hammering people why you didn't follow this particular rule. And then people become depressed and they think it's really important, the rule, the particular rule, but we don't know why we do it. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta once told a story that there was one pundit who came to a village to do a wedding ceremony. And